Howdy and welcome once again to the Steakhouse. Glad you're along. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a little baseball talk, T-Bone style, right here on the Steakhouse. And with that, hello everybody, and welcome once again. It's time to talk a little T-Bones baseball and the American Association. Glad you're along. All right, let me pull the curtain back because I'm a little pissed at AT&T again. I got up at 6:15 this morning. I had a little Bible study at 7. Did my workout. I had my show notes, and so in the last hour, like at the top of the hour, on 11 o'clock hour, I taped an intro for the show. So it would like seamlessly go over the countdown to me, to the open. But for some reason, we've hired new, even after internet got fixed, it took forever for that video to get uploaded. And finally, I just had to throw my hands up because the guests are already here. I mean, we were already supposed to be in Wednesday's Wisdom by now. But hey, you know what? The great thing about this live video thing is we can always shift on the fly. So I was going to introduce you our guests. They're both on the line. Here are their pictures. So I'm going to start off with them. Tell what's going to happen on the show right off the bat. We're going to jump right into a discussion I've been looking forward to. The only two-man booth in the association. I mean, there are a couple of places in Kansas City, we have some folks in the booth, but a full-time two-man broadcast team. We're going to be joined by Brad Allred and Gerig from the Cleburne Railroaders. A little bit later on, I'll give you some Wednesday's Wisdom. We usually start off with that, but I'm actually going to tell you about they messed up a box score too back in 1918. Has been focusing on the 1918 season. Also, I'll give you some tidbits that I pulled off of actually Brad and Denny's show last night. Just some odds and ends, and also a couple of notes, some things around the association as well. So without further ado, I'll bring their picture down. I'm going to bring them in one at a time here. This is the fun part about it. We'll put them both in here, and I'm going to get them both in. And there they are, folks. There they are, the voices of those fine Cleveland Railroaders, the big rivals of the T-Bones now, joining us from somewhere in the DF&W, Brad, Allred, and Denny Gerig. Hello, boys. How you doing?
Doing great, Dan.
I love your long hair, by the way, Denny. I do love the long hair. Look good. You look good, bud. You guys both look good. You both have like playoff hockey beards going.
You know what? I want to point out, Dan, that the first sign of a true good team is the fact when you can be coordinated with your dress code without planning it. We did that last night on Rail Talk Live. We have done it again today. Denning and I have pulled it off.
No text messages were exchanged in the coordination of these polos.
And you guys look great last night on TV with the trucks behind you, and everybody was there. Jeff Coat was there. The whole band was there. Everybody was had a good time. We'll talk about that in a moment because I want to get around the league about that. First, I'm glad you guys are here. I've been looking forward to this. I'm close to both of you guys. I have a lot of respect. We're all mates. We're all pals. And I, just love the band we all have back and forth. So first off, thanks a lot. I've been asking everybody this. They come on. How are you guys holding up? Who wants to start first? Brad, how are you holding up? You've been a busy man. You're not been sitting idly by. You okay?
I'm doing great, Dan. Trying to stay busy, making the most of the downtime, traveling with the family. Many of us posted yesterday our sentiments, our feelings on this downtime and what was supposed to be opening day yesterday. I struggled with what I was going to post. Or was I going to make it something ho-hum all about me. Woe is Brad. He's not getting to broadcast baseball. And the more I thought about it, I thought differently. And I thought, you know what, while yes, I'm sad that we're not having baseball, there was also an opportunity to look at the positives. And for me, the positive was a lot of time being able to be spent with family that I haven't been accustomed to be able to have over the course of the past 3 years. So taking some trips to Florida, taking my kids to the beach. I made the most of it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, you did the little St. Augustine run. I used to live in Jacksonville. Chris Brown and I spent a lot of time at St. Aug back in the day.
Second run in the past 3 weeks. I'm almost making it my second home.
Yeah, I follow you guys a lot. I know, Denning, you did a little excursion down to the hill country, didn't you, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, that's right. We took a short weekend trip down near Austin. We rented an Airbnb, like a tiny home, little cabin, just for a chance to kind of break up the monotony. I mean, during the stay-at-home order, we were seeing the same four walls for too many hours in the day, and so it was a way to get away and see something else, and really refreshing for sure.
How is the club affected, Brad, by this whole thing? How's the Railroader family? How has that affected things in the Railroader family?
Like anywhere else, Dan, just like in Kansas City, like all our markets within the American Association, it's almost a stalemate, right? We're idly waiting. Our fingers are crossed. Denning and I talked about it at length last night on Rail Talk Live, the anticipation of what we hope to come to pass the first week of July. We had a conversation with our commissioner, Joshua Schaub, yesterday, and I really liked his demeanor, the way he put it. He's like, I'm tired of hearing about the negatives. He said, I'm tired of hearing about, quote unquote, this world that we live in. Let's turn it to positive. Let's turn it more upbeat. And that's what we're trying to do. And we've got our calendar circled for the first week of July. And just like every other market within the American Association, we hope the first week of July, we're hearing the crack of the bat, we're hearing the snap of the glove, and we're ready to get it on.
Yeah, I wrote down some notes. I mean, great show, by the way, last night. And we're very fortunate in this league to have guys like that. And I wrote down, I'm actually going to talk about it at the tail end of the show a little bit, but I wrote down positive. And I underlined it like 5 times, exclamation point. I mean, that was the message. I was really fired up to hear that. Denning, as far as you're concerned, I guess for all of us, you guys are a two-man crew, but are you able to kind of get around the office now, in and out now? Are you guys still kind of working from home?
We're mostly working from home, Dan. We've been doing weekly meetings in the office in person on Monday mornings as just kind of a way to coordinate our plan basically for the upcoming week. Essentially, my job over the last couple of weeks and couple of months really has been the team's social media, so the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram, the YouTube, so on and so forth. And so I talk with John, our owner and president, and David Kirk, our director of sales, about kind of where we want to head in the upcoming week. But really the office is still pretty quiet. I think David comes in there most days and John's in there most days, but for the most part, it is definitely still a work from home type of situation.
Big crazy times. Let's jump to the roster. Let's jump into what's been going on, because everybody's pretty much, we're all the hot stoves cooled a bit because we should be playing. But let's jump to the roster. Are you guys concerned? I know that we talked last week with Tim Costello from Grand Prairie, or from Texas, I guess. Now I still call him Grand Prairie. I don't know why I do that, but about their situation roster wise. Kansas City, mostly domestic players. I know Fargo's got a couple of out of the country. You guys have some guys from out of the country. How is that going to affect, at least are you thinking roster wise in general? Brad, let's let you take that one.
Yeah, there is some concern. We've got the international contingent too, with Angel Reyes, some others, Angel Palumbo, some others that right now we don't know where we're at in terms of, can they get back in the United States? Will they be allowed to be back into the States? Should we stay on this timetable with an early July start? Yeah, there's definitely that concern there. Are we faced with it, say, with someone like the folks, our bunkmates down I-30? No, we don't have it as bad as they do, but there's still some genuine concerns. But I think it's the same for, many teams across the league.
You've got a guy, though, sitting there in Josh Robertson, who this guy, I don't know why we always don't put him. Maybe we just, as a league, we don't. I think the league gets it, but sometimes I forget. I'll talk about the names of the league, and for some reason, I don't know if it's because he was in Wichita and went away for a year and that was it or whatever. But what this guy's done year after year in Wichita and now in Cleburne, you got the right guy there. If you do got to plug holes, because the holes he's plugged so far, wow, you guys look awesome. Didn't you worked with Josh there in Wichita? You like that secret weapon you got, or not so secret weapon in Josh?
Well, Dan, I got to be honest with you. Even that one year where you said he went away, he didn't really go away. So he stepped down from the GM role, but he was still the special assistant to the GM, I think is the title that we gave him. Right. He was still there every single day. Josh is the kind of personality where he really can't stay away from the game of baseball. He's been a baseball lifer, and man, I have so much respect for the work that he does and what he's able to do building teams year in and year out. The Wichita dynasty speaks for itself, but it was really cool to kind of see the way that he put the puzzle pieces together for this Cleburne roster. As you know, when the Wichita franchise folded, there was that 12-player trade with the remaining Wichita pieces down to Cleburne, and there was a lot of questions of, how would these pieces all be integrated? Who are you just going to try and have the Wingnuts 2.0 down here in Cleburne? Right. Do you incorporate some of the existing Cleburne players? And it ended up being a little bit of both. But the thing that impressed me, and I'm sure impressed Brad as well, was that first 2 weeks of the season, Cleburne just got decimated by injuries. The entire starting infield at one point was down. John Nestor was on the disabled list. Levi Scott ended up missing basically the entire year. Jared Reeves ended up missing the entire year. Angel Rosa missed 3/4 of the year, and Chase Simpson ended up playing, shortstop for a while. It was rough, but he was
second base.
The holes. He was in places where Chase Simpson probably shouldn't be, but he was able to plug all those holes on the fly. I remember we were coming back from Winnipeg. Angel Rosa just hurt his hamstring there, so we had the day off for that 24-hour bus ride back down. And Brad and I were just looking at each other like, man, we're going to have 3 new infielders when we get back to Cleburne. And we knew that they'd be good players. And that's what Josh does, because that's really, it better than anybody with the way that Joe goes about his business. Indie ball in general is a concept where you have to make adjustments on the fly. You got to plug holes constantly. You say that Joe has that phone ringing, with other options. And that's how it works. You got to be on the phones constantly, ready to bring the next guy in.
Yeah, I remember that my first year in 13, 15 in Gerig. And I remember sitting behind Greg Taggart, a seat behind him. And Greg was always on his phone. And it didn't dawn on me about midway through the season, he wasn't on there just checking text, but he was looking at stats and box scores and who was doing what in other leagues and the Can-Am League. And I'd hear him say, yeah, so-and-so did whatever in the Can-Am League. But these guys have got to be doing that all the time. And there's no Joe's one of those guys that does it. They all do it. But it's not just X's and O's, or in this case, lineup cards. It's got to find those bodies. And Josh has done a great job of that. I guess now with this whole, you've got a population base in Texas. And I asked this to Tim last week. You're in a nice spot. And then you got, Brad, you're a native Texan. Denny, you got here as fast as you could, I guess, but as they like to say in Texas. But as a native, I can tell you that. But you've got a population pool, and it's a nice weapon. I mentioned this to Tim last week. You got 30-some million people here in the state that if you do need a body, you got a lot of folks out there that play baseball, Brad, around the corner, and some pretty good ones. It's a nice deep pool you got here in the Lone Star State.
Yeah, for a state that is always been conditioned to, hey, it's a football state, right? There's
Right.
quite a bit of baseball talent around too. Cleburne really has been fortunate, even in the years before the Robertson clan came on board. We've had to draw talent from near. Denning mentioned Levi Scott earlier, local kid,
Yep.
Burleson
Yep.
High School product. Justin Bird, who's now with the Texas Air Hogs, formerly the Cleburne Railroaders, local guy. So there's been local talent that Cleburne has had the fortune to draw to. But Josh, he pulls them out of everywhere. I think one of the fascinating stories for the Cleburne Railroaders in 2019 was the emergence of Grant Buck and where
Yes.
he's been. And literally, when Levi Scott went down, there was, and we were at a point in the season where we needed someone to play first base, and bam, here comes this big strapping presence into the clubhouse. I mean, you look at Grant Buck, he looks like a big league ball player. He's just a big physical stature. And Denning and I just look and we're like, where does Josh find these guys? Like, it's literally,
we not see that has just baseball players on them. We're shopping down.
I think we were in town playing you guys when Grant Buck played first the first night, and there was this. I'm like, who's this kid? I mean, he looked like, okay, I'm casting a big league movie. I want this guy to play the lead of the big league part. Mm-hmm. This is the guy I'm going to cast. He looked like that guy. I'm like, where did he find this guy?
We didn't know who was going to play first base, and then bam, here comes a 6'7" giant walking in the door with shoulders as wide as the doorway. And he just, we had Denning and I poke fun at Josh all the time on our program, like he's got the white lab coat on, he's got the beakers out, and he's just mixing up what a player should look like. And bam, there's Grant Buck. I mean, Josh just he has a knack for doing this over and over and over again.
Voices you're hearing, faces you're hearing. I'm Dan Vaughn, voice of the Kansas City T-Bills, the American Association. My buntmates in the division, the Cleburne Railroaders two-man broadcast team, Brad Allred and Denning Gerig, as they joined us from there in Texas. Glad you guys are along on a Wednesday here on the Steakhouse. A couple things. Let's see. Morgan says, hi, guys. She says, I'll put you guys' faces down. Let me move those down there. There we go. Producing the fly here. Don't you love that? Let's see. Morgan says, hey, guys, best broadcasters ever. Yes, there you go. You got a fan club there.
Thank you, Morgan.
Appreciate that.
My wife likes the sign behind Denning's head there. But Morgan says she's super bummed about not discussing what our walk-ups would be right now. And that's true. I'm bummed about that. Nolan says, let's see here. Brad and Denning were some of the nicest broadcasters to help out during my internship with the T-Bones, Nolan. So very good stuff. Very nice fellows. I can echo that. Let's see here. All right. Well, anyway, let's move along. I want to just toss out a name because I think you guys. I've heard you guys. This came from watching you guys shows over and over again. I've heard you these three names I want to mention are three names that I've heard you guys really talk. Just glowing about. They're all three guys that could be on my team any day. First off, all right, Brad, I'm just going to say the name and you tell me something that comes to mind. First thing, Zach Nearier.
Consummate professional. The guy is never satisfied. He's always working. He is what you want to be in terms of the face of your franchise. He leads by example. He's a man of faith. Probably in what is about to be my fourth year in the American Association, definitely one of my top 5 guys in terms of players that I've drawn close to, and it's about what he does off the field, not what he does on it. 100% class individual.
Yeah, 4 years. Has it already been 4 years?
This will be year 4. Yeah, dang. Time flies when you're having fun.
Man, I'm approaching double digits. All right, doing pretty easy one here, I think. Maybe a softball for you, but Chase Simpson.
Probably the most complete offensive player in the league. There's a lot of competition for that, but Chase has just done it every way that you can possibly do it as an offensive player. His walk rate is ridiculous. His power numbers last year were off the charts. He was on pace to set basically every league record there for about 2/3 of the way through the season. He's a switch hitter, obviously, so you can't really match up against him, and he hits both lefties and righties well. He doesn't really have any splits, like it's not like he just crushes at the depot and then goes on the road and he's absent. He hits everywhere, and it helps that he now has a little bit of that versatility to play everywhere on the infield. He was right up there, I think, for League Player of the Year voting. Obviously, was selected as a midseason and postseason All-Star, but one of the linchpins of our team, no question about it. One of the best players in the league.
I'm going to start off the final. I'm going to give you both a chance here, but this next guy, and I love catchers. I mean, I think catchers are. That's, if I was to reincarnate myself as a prospect, I'd be a catcher. I mean, my favorite players were always catchers. Jim Sundberg as a young man, Pudge Rodriguez, of course, a couple of former Rangers. John Nestor, I love what this guy does. He seems like just from an outsider's point of view, I just said the glue. Is he the glue? He looks like one of those guys that's like the glue that all kind of comes together around the guy. Am I close to that? Is he that kind of player?
He's absolutely that kind of player. John Nestor is the most valuable player in our organization. We've got a lot of great talent, but John Nestor, you can talk to any pitcher on our roster. You pick them, and they're going to glow about the relationship they have with the guy behind the plate. John Nestor is a consummate professional. He knows how to not only work with his pitchers, but he knows how to maintain those relationships. And he is a guy in the clubhouse that, again, leads by example. He's a Clemson Tiger, so I love that about him, Dan. But John is one of the most. He is the guy in our organization in terms of what he brings behind the plate, and Cleburne fans love him.
Anything to add, Denning? Am I right? Is he the glue? I mean, he seems like the glue. I mean, that guy can play on my team. All three of these guys can play on my team anyway, which I know they're very excited about. But am I close?
Oh yeah, you're close. I could do a whole show, I think, talking about John Nestor, to be honest with you. I don't want to stereotype, because this will sound, somewhat derogatory towards catchers in the American Association and really catchers at the lower levels of minor league baseball. But generally, to be a professional catcher, you can get away with just being good at one of the two facets. Like if you're an exceptional defensive catcher, you can hit 190 and still have a job. Or if you can really swing it, you can, and if you hit left-handed, you can still have a job. So it's rare to find a player behind the plate who's got both of those things. John is an incredible pitch framer. I did a video breakdown of that. This is a shameless plug here on my Twitter page earlier this offseason. Just watching him just steal those strikes on borderline pitches was crazy to watch. You don't see it when you're up in the broadcast booth until you get that look from out the center field camera, and you're like, wow, that was 3 inches outside, and he's getting that pitch for us. He handles the staff so well, as Brad talked about. He handles the locker room well with his presence. And last year, he took huge strides forward as a hitter in terms of his power. He had talked about how previously in the league, teams had known that he could drive the ball a little bit the other way, but he was getting beat a little bit by fastballs in. And last year, he changed that whole narrative. He was getting to those pitches inside and pulling the ball with authority. And that's the reason why he saw a career high in home runs for him. Easy all-star selection. I think he was probably the number one candidate on everybody's ballot, and we are so happy and fortunate to have him.
Looks like move to the bullpen. Let's look at the roster down the road here. I'm going to kind of blow through a few spots here. The roster. I love working backwards from the bullpen. Tyler Wilson on your roster. This guy, 24 saves last year, sub-2 ERA. Who are you going to pair with Wilson? What are we looking for? The T-Bones fans, who should we be concerned with besides Wilson? Who are you going to run out there to set this guy up?
I think Jake Joyce could be a name that people are talking about as an eighth inning guy. I think you'll find that he will kind of transplant himself into that Nefi Agondo role from a year ago for us. You'll see him in the eighth inning. But for Cleburne to be successful, You need to see Jake Joyce, obviously, in the 8th, and then you need to see Tyler Wilson in the 9th. Tyler Wilson throws as hard as anyone in this league.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's in the game in the 9th inning, Dan, and he's firing 98, 99 mile-an-hour fastballs, Cleburne's got a lot of confidence when Tyler Wilson goes out there in the 9th. And more times than not, good things are going to happen for the Railroaders. So I think those are the two guys on the back end of the bullpen that Cleburne fans are going to want to see a lot of.
I'll add to that as well. First off, with Tyler, Dan, you may remember Mason Davis hit a home run against him at the Depot last year. That was the only run he gave up at home all year. All year. That's insane. And he hadn't given up a run, period, until a walk-off in Kansas City. So he was as close to perfect. I think Mike Jeffcoat said that last night, word for word. He was as close to perfect.
And that game in Kansas City, Mike Jeffcoat also took the blame for it, because when Tyler Wilson gave up the run in that night in Kansas City,
he threw like 2 warm-up pitches.
He threw 2 warm-up pitches, literally 2. There was a miscommunication. He didn't even know he was coming in the game. So, if I'm going to be the big boastful, toot my Cleburne Railroader horn here, Tyler Wilson, he's a guy you want. He's a guy you want in the 9th inning.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mentioned Josh Robertson earlier. Of course, part of bringing in new talent. He had 2 guys to add to your rotation. I mean, I love Michael Gunn, lefty. It looks like a mate of mine, Alex Boshears, a guy I have a lot of respect for. What a phenomenal young man, by the way. Congratulations, Alex, on the engagement. And then Rick Teasley, another guy I've seen in Australia, part of the Brisbane Bandits back-to-back a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. I've seen him firsthand. You're getting a couple of guys to suddenly – a pretty good rotation already, and suddenly get a little depth there. On paper now, it's so early. I mean, it's all on paper, but dadgummit, you guys got a deep rotation.
Rick Teasley, Dan, is a guy that I've been fortunate enough to spend a little time with. He's in St. Augustine, Florida. That's where he makes his home. So Rick reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, got to meet him, sit down, have some dinner, spend some time with Rick. He is very excited, not just to be with the Railroaders, but to be in the American Association. This is a league that he wants to pitch in, a league where he feels like there's a tremendous amount of talent, as we all do. From that left side, to have Rick Teasley, to have Michael Gunn, Mike Jeffcoat, who we had on last night, mentioned to Denning and I, said he really feels like there's upwards of 8 to 9 guys that could potentially compete for spots in this rotation. Down the stretch for us last year, some injury issues with the rotation. And as we all know how competitive Josh Robertson is, I think when he looked at arms in this offseason, I almost feel like he was fixated. We will not have starting pitching problems when we come into the year. If we got to have 12 of them, I'll go get 12. So starting pitching is a position of luxury, fortunately for us, as we head into 2020.
Denning, any sleepers there in that rotation for you? Is there anybody that's under the radar, you think?
Kind of a recent signing for us is a name that I'm really excited about. Mason Melitakis, former second-round pick, a left-hander who just kind of came onto our radar out of nowhere. He came and threw at the stadium one day for Josh and Brent, and they were just like, wow, this is a second-round talent who basically just fell into our lap. And I'm not sure if he wanted to start or if he wanted to be a reliever, but I think either way, he was going to be a pretty critical piece for Cleburne moving forward. And then another name to kind of keep an eye on is Osmer Morales, former major leaguer who has been mostly a reliever in his career, but it sounds like it kind of is going to be a Nefi Ogando situation from last year where he wants an opportunity to come to Cleburne and be a starting pitcher. So those are 2 names, I think, who could kind of fly under the radar a little bit.
Yeah, I had my interesting names. He was one of the 3 because I think he's a story there. It took him 10 years to make the big leagues, and he was only there for a short time. There's a movie script there. There's a feel-good story there.
Yeah.
I know there's got to be. I saw that note when I wrote that down. Who's been working on their Lay Lago home run call first, Brad? Do you have any Lay Lago home run calls already locked away in the back?
Let me tell you what, Dan. I was an Lay Lago fan when he was wearing the T-Bones jersey.
There you go.
Then he goes to the Birdcage, where I thought, my God, this guy's going to go hit 500 there and hit 40 home runs, and then finally getting the opportunity at the All-Star game last year, or actually the All-Star festivities. Denning and I were literally down there 30 feet away from Lelago, and the show he put on at the Home Run Derby. And then the way things work, now Lelago is in Cleburne. Railroader fans, as you know, Dan, you can tell them firsthand, the Railroader fans that are watching your day on the Steakhouse, they're going to fall in love with the Lelago. This guy is going to do things. We're going to, I get goosebumps literally as I'm talking about it. We're really excited. We are really excited. And yes, I've got something cooking for Lelago the first time he blasts one to left. No question.
I don't have one. No, I've never been like a home run call kind of guy. I just try to let inspiration strike me in the moment. But I don't know if I could top Ole, Ole, Ole. I mean, that's the iconic call for him, right?
Yeah, and you know, Dan, I would never try to rip you off. I don't believe in ripping off other broadcasters.
Feel free to.
And I'm not going to spoil my call today, but I will give this little tidbit of information. It has some soccer flavor to it.
There you go.
I'll leave it at that.
There you go. There you go. Well, he's a heck of a ballplayer. Dylan Tice even said the very same thing that when he was on my show last month. Dylan said, I asked him, what was the All-Star game experience like? What stood out to you? And he said, watching Lelago take BP. He said it was the highlight of his. I mean, he said there's a lot of highlights. That was a real playing highlight of seeing that. But you guys have got a good one. The faces and voices you're seeing. My name's Dan Vaughn. See our logo, the Kansas City T-Bones, the right side corner. Welcome to Steakhouse, talking a little American Association baseball on a Wednesday. Here as the season kind of sits in idle mode. Brad Allred and Denning Gerig of the Cleburne Railroaders, the only two-man broadcast team in the league. I want to skip past a couple. There was a Kansas City connection. Colton is at Pogue, I believe, out of Blue Springs. Pitt State guy, you guys picked him up. Denning, do you know much about him besides what I just said? I mean, maybe a utility type guy?
Yeah, that's what we talked about on our show last night, Dan, that basically every team in the league follows a similar format when building their roster where everyone wants to have a rookie who can play a lot of positions. You have to have 5 rookies in there somewhere. It just makes sense to have someone who can be kind of versatile, kind of fluid. Logan Trowbridge was that guy for the Railroaders last year. I think Colton Pogue's got a great chance to be that guy for the Railroaders this year. He can play basically everywhere on the infield. He can really hit too. I mean, he was top 10 in the country in Division II while at Pitt State in his senior season in terms of batting average. I talked to Brad last night. I was like, I could see a scenario where he shows up to spring training, just hits the cover off the ball, and he's starting at second base for the Railroaders on opening night. So he's a guy I'm really high on.
Let's have a little more behind the scenes stuff with you guys. I've always said, and this is more about the organization, but I often call Cleburne the Friday Night Lights when I'm on the air there, because I feel like, and I love the TV show and the movie, but I'm sitting in the booth and I see out there's a pump jack in left field. There's the little city lights, little small town lights. It has a Friday night feel to it. It has a real small town feel. I think that's a great advantage because we're big time, big city Kansas City. You've got big city St. Paul. Talk about that small town atmosphere. Brad, you're from the area. Mm-hmm. Is it as homey in small towns? I feel like it is, and it feels so relaxed. It feels like a comfortable shirt there.
Yeah, we definitely want to accentuate that Friday night feel, Dan. You've heard me often say, like, I give you the credit for the Steakhouse Rail Talk. Like, there would be no Rail Talk without the Steakhouse. But the one thing, the one thing we wanted to do differently in terms of our community in Cleburne is Denning and I wanted this to be a platform where we felt like we could connect with our fan base and our fan base could feel like they could connect with us. That's the way we bring the broadcast presentation every night. And everything that we do, we don't want it to be about us talking to the fans. We want it to be, or broadcasting to the fans. We want it to be about us talking with the fans. And that's how we've tried to design Rail Talk Live and coming on every day before games and the way that we broadcast and the way that Denning and I will tell stories. I think that's the whole point behind the 2-man booth, is to try to bring some form of entertainment on a night where the game might be decided in the 4th or 5th inning. And I think that I feel like Denning and I have been blessed. I know that I have in my 3 years, and Denning in his 1 with us, in terms of fans have really been supportive of Denning and I. We've had some really cool moments in the broadcast booth. Dan, I like to eat. I'm a big guy. I'm a big fella. I like to eat, and I talk about that a lot. And we've had food delivered to us mid-game when we didn't even know it was coming. It's happened multiple times. Our fans have been very good to Denning and I, and it is very much a close-knit, small-town feel. Very similar to what you mentioned, like a Friday Night Lights type of thing.
Denning, what makes it so much fun with you working for Brad? I mean, because you worked pretty much by yourself in Wichita. It was a little bit of a change, but what's been so fun about it? What's the fun thing about working with Brad?
Well, that's the word, Dan, is that Brad, I think, taught me a lot about how to have fun on a broadcast. As a young guy who's just coming into the industry and just coming into professional baseball, you're so focused on, like, I want to say the right things. I want to act like the consummate professional, all the boxes that you want to list. You forget sometimes that, like, I'm getting paid to watch a baseball game and to talk about a baseball game. This is literally the most fun thing that anyone could be doing right now. And Brad has reminded me of that throughout last year, so many different ways. The one that always sticks out in my mind is him eating the caboose burger in Sioux City on the air. Just because it's like, why not? You don't get this opportunity very often, and, like, just enjoy the moments, and
Amen.
I try to pick up something from each broadcaster that I come into contact with, and I think that is the overarching lesson that I've learned from Brad is just, have fun with it.
Well, while I appreciate Denning with the compliment, I do want to add one little tidbit to that. It's an 8-1 ball game in the fourth. No one wants to hear about a Ryan Brett slow roller to second. They want to hear what I think about the cinnamon roll bun. I mean, you put a cheeseburger with a cinnamon roll, I feel like I need to talk about it, and I took that opportunity on that particular night.
You guys are spot on to my next question, really. I've got 2 broadcast partners I'm really close to in Australia. I mean, Paul Morgan and I are like, he's my baseball wife, my wife calls him. I'm close to his family, his kids. Simon Isons is our color guy. Simon's a former player. I'm close to him and his family. Ken McGee is also part of our broadcast team, very close. I've been to all their houses. I've been to pool parties. We're all mates. And in the stories, I forget the games. But it's the crazy things that happen, like the computer catching on fire and running out of whatever. We've been there. How bad the food was in Canberra or whatever. We've been there. So I get that whole thing. The baseball wife, because you're almost like a baseball wife. I heard Jim Nantz even say this. Jim Nantz was talking about Tony Romo. He and Romo have become fast friends over the years with golf, and they're become friends. But you guys, and I'm listening, and I see you guys have become a family. You guys are close. I mean, you guys are. I mean, Brad, you're baseball husband and wife.
Yeah, Denning's talked about what I've taught him. I want to brag on Denning a second because I've been really lucky, Dan, in my 3 years to have the partnership that I had with Michael Dixon, the voice of the Lincoln Salt Dogs now for year 1 and 2, and then to have had the chance in 2019 to work with Denning. They're very different. Michael and Denning are 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. But the one thing that Denning was able to teach me, the one thing that I learned from him in 2019, and I don't mean this as any slight to my first 2 years with Cleburne, but my first 2 years in Cleburne, the team was new. They hadn't gelled together. There wasn't a championship opportunity for Cleburne in 2017 and 2018. I knew coming into 2019, this team was going to be good. I knew that I was going to call meaningful baseball games in August, that I had never done that. I didn't know what that was like in 2017, 2018. Denning showed me at points when I like to talk, how to let a game breathe, especially in a big game situation, how to let the sounds of the game, let what's happening almost speak for itself. I didn't know how to do that until I watched my partner do it, and I learned from him. So, yes, we do have a very close partnership. I think one of the things that I that I take a lot of pride in, and whether it's Rail Talk Live, whether it's our broadcast, anything that you see or you hear from Denning and I, you're not going to hear it unless we both agree on it. Denning's had ideas. I've had ideas. I've had ideas that I've wanted to bring to the table where Denning's told me, terrible idea, Brad. We're not doing that. We're not going there. And I'm like, oh, and I'm defeated.
Like this show, like coming on this show,
right,
was one of those ideas? Like, terrible idea.
I tried to fight him on this, Dan. I really did.
And then there have been ideas that Denning has wanted to go with that I haven't been passionate about. Point being, unless we're both we have to both be passionate about it for us to move forward with it. And I think that is truly what defines a great partnership. 2019 will be a year, even though it didn't end the way that we wanted it to end as broadcasters for the Railroaders, it'll still be a year that I'll never forget.
I got something real quick to add to that.
Go ahead.
I mean, to your point, Dan, I think if we didn't get along, we would kill each other because, you spend so much time together. We room together on the road, and I can't remember the name of the Detroit Tigers broadcasters who got into a fist fight in the booth or something. If we were at that level, it would have already happened by now. I'm so thankful that we do have a good, not only working relationship, but just personal relationship, because Cleburne really had to go through it last year at the end of the season when there were all those close games just slipping away, and the playoff race, and it didn't go our way. If I didn't have Brad with me in the hotel room, things could have gotten dangerous. No doubt. Broken. Pillars thrown.
I can see it.
It was nice to have someone where after a game is over and you're just kind of trying to come down a little bit, someone to just talk to about the game or about whatever, rather than just sit there and just stew on it. I mean, Dan, you're as passionate as anybody I know in this league when it comes to following your team. When you lose an extra inning game or a game like you feel like your team should have won, it's so hard to just go back to the hotel and I'm going to work on my game notes. It's hard. It's hard to decompress a little bit.
Sure.
And that's where it's so nice to have really a friend in there with you to talk it out with.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Michael Dixon. It actually is on my list here as it was deleting. I was talking about booth mates, and I was talking about you and Michael. And I remember Michael because he's now Lincoln, a great bloke too, really good guy. He reminds me so much, and you guys early on, that's where it came from. I would sit there and listen to Brad and Michael, and I'd sit there and go, gosh, that sounds like fun. And I listen to you guys, Brad and Denning, I'm going, man, that sounds like fun. And it reminds me, when I'm in Cleveland, I sit there and I hear you guys, and I think about working with Paul over in Australia. I think about that because I can tell you guys are having fun. I know Paul and I are having fun. And so with that, let's have some fun about a little newlywed game. How about that? You guys are sort of newlyweds, right? All right. Brad, what's Denning's worst habit?
Flinging pins, breaking pins in a Grand Prairie broadcast booth after a game, and almost destroying my shirt.
I'm very guilty of a pen breaking.
Is that why the windows don't open there anymore because of that? Is that what happened?
Well, I broke it in the other direction. That's what's crazy. You know how big that booth is in Grand Prairie?
Yes.
I broke it against the back wall, and it hit Brad's scorebook at the front of the booth.
Splattered, literally, Dan, no joke. It ricochets off the wall towards the other side of the room, over my shoulder, off the glass, splatters onto my scorebook. Big pool of ink.
Oops.
Yeah, I'm not proud of that, but it did happen.
Brad, where would he rather be than the booth? If there's someplace else he'd rather be, where would he want to go? What would you think Brad would want to be besides broadcasting a game?
Dan, that's the easiest question you're going to ask me all night. It's either the casino or the golf course. Ideally, if you could combine the two elements, that'd be great. Brad is a little bit humble when it comes to this, but he is quite the accomplished poker player. He actually got me to go out to the casino twice this past year. Once in Kansas City, where I came away with a hefty $102 profit. But He taught
Not 103, 102. There you go.
He taught me a lot about playing poker, actually, and he knows his stuff. So I would have to say one of those two places for sure.
Dan, I'd like to tell your T-Bones fans watching along in the Steakhouse today. Actually, I will say this, and this isn't lip service because I'm on your show today. The best poker player in the American Association, hands down, Chris Colabello. Really, really good. Really good. Played quite a bit of poker with Chris. He is very, very talented.
Member of Team Italy as well. Great guy, and would love to have him back.
Super good
no doubt about it. Super good guy. Great family as well. Who's the better cook? I have a choice to make. Who am I gonna? I mean, I need a cook. What are you? Who am I gonna hire?
Which one trouble.
You can cook better? Am I screwed?
Cook you
you're in a lot of trouble,
my friend. That's what you're getting.
We're going to drive through Whataburger then, huh?
Or we can Grubhub. We can get some takeout. I'm a very good eater, Dan. I'm a professional eater. I know how to eat. I'm going to appreciate whatever you put in front of me. But in terms of preparing it, oh, thank God I have a beautiful wife.
On the road, who snores louder?
Denning.
On the Dennings and ladder snore.
I didn't know I was a snorer. I gotta be honest.
Denning. He turns in earlier than I do, so that's how I know. That's how I.
All right, Brad, who plays Denning on the new HBO show that's coming out next year? Who's going to be? You're going to cast to play him. What actor can play him?
Oh,
I know. Boy. I have a couple of ideas, but
that is really complicated. You know what? I think Brad Pitt could do a great job as a Denning Gerig.
Literally the highest compliment anyone has ever given.
Yeah, I think he could pull it off. Boy, that's really tough. I'm going to go with Brad Pitt.
No, they didn't break the windows, Tim. They did not. I was just saying they didn't open. I didn't say that. Okay. Final question, Denning. What is you're now? I'm sorry, you're not broadcasting the game tonight, but you're now doing the music. And you're going to play a walk-up song for Brad. What are you going to play for Brad? He needs a walk-up song. What are you going to play for him?
Oh, man. See, I know Brad's taste in music, but I don't think it's very conducive to walk-up songs.
You mean not Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 like my broadcast partner Paul Morgan likes to play? No, that's
a great question, Dan. Because I know Brad's got a little bit of swagger to him. You know, he's got that braggadocio from his wrestling background where he understands a good presentation, you know, that the entrance is key. Brad, what's the name of that song? You had me do a video to it for Grandview. It was like, oh my gosh, it was somebody's intro music for a wrestler.
Yeah, it was the Young Bucks Super Kick Party. Yeah, that would be a good entrance for me. I'm more of an alternative music guy, Dan, and Denning referred to my love for poker. Give me some OAR, Crazy Game of Poker, live from like Red Rock or something like that. I could come to the plate. To that.
Everybody in the crowd be like, "Here comes a ground ball to second." You know, like there's no hype coming out of that.
That's if I could get it to second.
I love it. Great stuff. I tell you, I got a list of 1,000 things that go on forever, but this thing, I better cut it a little bit short here. Final thing, have you found at least for me, and I love the positive output you guys talked about. And Brad, you mentioned this yesterday on your Facebook post, but you like your routine's different. What have you guys been doing? I'll start with you, Brad. Your routine's different because your in-season routine is now shot. Have you done anything different that you routine-wise with this whole lockdown thing? Anything interesting you want to share?
You know what? I'm just antsy, Dan. I'm antsy to get started, and I'm not normally a homebody. Don't get me wrong. As I posted on Facebook yesterday, I've learned to appreciate a lot of things. Time with my family during the summer has been one. But even with that being said, it just can't be time with the family sitting idle at home. Everyone has their position on what's going on in our country right now. And I'm not disingenuous. Everybody has their opinion. They have the right to their opinion. My opinion, Dan, is this isn't going to slow down my life, and it's not going to slow down. It's not going to slow down my daily routine, the things that I do. So I've tried to take this time to capture it by spending time with family, doing some things, trips to Florida. I've recently tried to recreate my golf game. It's terrible, Dan. It's something that Charles Barkley would be proud of if you've ever seen his golf swing. But try to get out. Michael Dixon and I get out and we play golf together every Monday. He beats
that would be
me.
fun. I want to be the beer.
I have to unload wallet every Monday.
I want to drive the beer cart for that one. That would be worthwhile just to listen to you two guys play golf. That'd be hilarious.
We're very competitive. There's things said to one another that we can't repeat on this program. But normally I end up having to unload, or any other, true. Normally I have to end up having to unload my wallet to Mr. Dixon every Monday and then come up with some kind of elaborate story to tell my beautiful wife when I get home while I need another allowance. So,
Denning, passing the time, any streaming ideas you can share? I feel like you could probably help me out there, right?
Man, we're all looking for those ideas. It's daunting.
I'm running thin on them.
I know. Like I said, I'm running the social media for the Railroaders, and so I've been trying to come up with ideas every week of like, what's something we can do that's engaging, that's fun, that's cool to see. And I wish if I had any good ones, I would keep them to myself. I wouldn't even share them.
There you go.
I've been sitting around watching old American Association games. I've been watching Korean games. I've been watching Chinese games. Like, I just can't quit it. And
KBO, baby, KBO.
I watched it for like 4 days straight, and I was like, okay, this isn't really helping me right now. So I need live American sports, I think, back in my life sooner rather than later.
Guy, I have no idea what's going to happen unless Brad. I'm with you. I got no idea, but I hope we're all doing this in a few weeks' time, crossing paths in the association, and if not, we'll do it at some point. But I appreciate you guys. You guys are class acts. You're fun. This fraternity is fun. I know Brad and Denning both talked about it. We have a great group of broadcasters in our league. What you guys did last night was great. Just thanks a lot for your time. And hey, miss you guys. Hope you're doing well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having us.
Much love. Yeah, I guess I lost Brad there, but all good. Denning, appreciate it, Brad. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys on the road. Great. We could have gone for hours.
We really could have.
And as Josh Buckholt's notes, I would go for hours. He noticed. I heard that, Mr. Buckholtz. When Brad's back, I'll bring him back here real quick. Lost him there. He must have the same internet. Speed. Must have the same internet I have there.
I do. The problem is that your internet is just transferring over to my place here, Dan. Sorry about that.
I was so pissed off at a great open and everything, but no, I was just saying, appreciate you guys' time. We have a great fraternity it's fraternity. It's It's funny because even last week I asked Tim this, and I'll kind of going on here, but I asked Tim about the rivalry between Cleburne and Grand Prairie, and he goes, it's not a broadcaster's rivalry, and I thought about that. When Cleburne or when Kansas City plays St. Paul, I'm not going, we gotta beat Sean. It's not like that. It's a great group we have here. I love our group. We need a group trip to Vegas or something.
I think that's the thing that I appreciate the most out of my time in the American Association. You hit it right on the head, Dan. It's not a rivalry. It's not, when we go to Fargo, that Jack Michaels. It's more along the lines of Jack's going to put me in the floor laughing for 3 days. Like, I look forward to the trip. Or when we come to the Metro and we get to spend 3 days with you and have some fun. And go down to Danny's for a cocktail after the game. Those are the things. That's that camaraderie, that brotherhood, those friendships that are developed. Getting Gary, I'll even say this: going to Gary, bashing on Schlinsky for his terrible NFL picks. You want to get rich? Just get Schlinsky's NFL picks and go the other way. You'll be a millionaire. And now, and I look forward to having laughs with Laura Hoover along the way. So no matter what stop it is. Yeah, in terms of the broadcast, it's having those friendships, having those bonds, and that's one of the things I'll forever cherish about this league.
You guys are two great blokes, I'm always saying in my Australian, and I appreciate you guys. Much love. Stay safe. I'll see you guys soon. Appreciate you.
See you, Dan.
Thanks for having us on, Dan. Appreciate it very much.
I know who you, man. I know.
Yeah.
See you guys soon. See y'all. There you go. There we go. Sorry about that. I swear I had this whole technical thing rocking and rolling, and I just pulled me off the screen. What I was going to say, those two gentlemen, like all the guys, and they just mentioned it, there's class acts in our league. I wanted, and I mentioned it earlier, what a great day the league had yesterday. Now, granted, it was supposed to be opening day, okay? My heart was heavy. I know I spoke with Morgan yesterday, Chris Brown, Nate Miller as well at the ballpark. It was a hard day for a lot of folks, not just in Kansas City, but also across the league. It was our opening day. And one thing Brad said, and I'm right there with him, I'm going to come out of this thing a better person in the long haul, a better father, a better husband, a better broadcaster, a better whatever, social media, even those glitches today. What I was working on today, the intro, was something I worked on to get better at for the future, and kind of pissed me off that I didn't get it pulled off. My point is that some folks yesterday took a negative day and made a positive. St. Paul, with their virtual opening day or whatever their non-opening day they called it, was fantastic. There was a really cool TikTok video Morgan did yesterday. It was really a lot of fun. Kind of an opening day highlights some years gone by. Gerig did sort of a similar thing as well. Cleburne had a ballpark night last night. They had folks at the ball yard there in Cleburne at the depot, and the boys went on live last night for 2 hours. A great show they had on last night. Texas, the Air Hogs, a virtual opening day. They actually had a young lady sing the national anthem on their Facebook page. They went to the first pitch, and they had some players do some pitches and videos for them. The mascot was involved in the first hit. I mean, all that was great. A great message from Nate, their GM, as well. My point is, everybody in the league did a great job yesterday, and they were better. I believe the league was better yesterday on opening day than it ever's been. Yes, we didn't play a single game. Not a single ticket was torn. Not a single dollar was made. But I believe that the league, because of efforts like what Brad and Denning did last night, Sean in St. Paul, and throughout the league, all around the league, from Morgan, what she did for us, all the action in Texas, everybody doing that salute to the virtual opening day. I think the league is a better group today than it was yesterday in this time last year. And that is what my goal is, as you heard Brad say, as a broadcaster, as a brand manager, whatever you want to call it with the T-Bones, my goal is to be better when I come out of this thing, whether it be tomorrow or 6 years from now, whatever the case may be. And a big tip of the cap to Joshua Schaub, president of the league, executive director Josh Buchholz. Those two gentlemen's positive attitude has been phenomenal. And I wrote these notes down because this little Dale Hansen is a Channel 8 sportscaster in Dallas. It's kind of a Dale Hansen off the books kind of deal here, but he kind of sometimes goes off a little diatribe. But that was my goal today, was in the tailor of the show to tell you how much better I thought the league was now than it was this time last year. We are better today than we were yesterday because of actions like yesterday. All the hard work those teams did to sort of do the best they could do in terrible times for the game, engaging fans. And I'm blown away and just think to me, we're on the right track, whether we play baseball tomorrow or July or whenever. And I think that's a big tip of the cap to everybody in the league, all the teams, all the owners, management, and I mentioned Joshua and Josh as well, to all the things they're working hard. I have no idea what's going to happen. I know just from listening to the positive vibes of Joshua, we're focused and what they've been doing and working on all kinds of contingencies. They're working their tails off. And those things are kind of out of my control, out of your control, out of the fans' control. But what we can control is our attitude. What we can control is the good things we did yesterday. And we are a better group of teams. We're a better league today than we were yesterday. And that's the ultimate goal for all of us and for me as well coming out of this thing. So there's my American Association hot stove rant. Closing out the show, the couple of items as well. I have not gotten to the Wednesday's Wisdom, and let's get to that right now. It's good stuff, I think. and to close this thing out with a Wednesday's wisdom for you here on a Wednesday. We usually start the show with this, but we've been spending a lot of time talking about the 1918 season. I'm going to bring up a photo here if I can pull it up for you. And let's see here. I'm sorry, but guys, I've lost my. There we go. I got to get a little better at this because user friendly. And I do have a little contraption of order that's going to make this so much easier for me. But I'm going to give you a shot here of a gentleman in the stream here. I'm going to pull up my script here, so bear with me. But what you're seeing right there is a gentleman named Harvey Fred Red Blum, Bluhm, in 1918. And here's what, you've heard me talk about the box score problems we've had and how oftentimes they're how important the box score is going to be right. Those guys' stats depend on it. The league records depend on it. And back in the turn of the last century, both American and National League, both leagues, you would send your box score to the league office after every game. And they actually would mail it. You do your box score, you take your official box score, put an envelope, put a stamp on it, boom, you sent the league office. It wasn't faxed or emailed in recent decades. It was snail mail. And this gentleman, Red Blum, was noticeably left off a box score. And it wasn't discovered until 1962. And when some writers with Sabre went back and found this out, but apparently, as the story goes, is Blum made one big league appearance. And I'm going to read you a little bit about this gentleman. And the Red Sox have the only player in history who does not appear in the original official box score. The original official box score of the July 3rd, 1918 game for the Red Sox, he doesn't appear, although he did play. It took 4 decades later, researchers as well found that proof was actually in game stories that he actually had an official at bat. In his one game in the big leagues, he had one at bat, nothing else. His career was one at bat. Now, can you imagine having your only big league at bat not count on the box score? Now, he was on the bench for a couple of games prior, but his only at bat he never got credit for until 1962, and Fred died in 1952 there in Michigan. But native of Cleveland, started his pro career in 1911 with Youngstown. He played in Duluth, Toledo, New Orleans. He was he was such a great player in the old Southern Association that Red Blum actually had a day named after him in 1918. They celebrated Red Blum Day with the New Orleans Pelicans back in the turn of the last century. Played for Cleveland's farm team as well. The Cleveland Indians the Indians actually were a farm team before they became a big league club, and he also batted around industrial leagues as well. But his only major league appearance was a pinch hit on July 3rd, 1918 against Philadelphia, the Athletics. Now of course, playing Kansas City Athletics and eventually Oakland Athletics, but he popped out. He was basically a footnote in baseball for a long time. And again, hey, I played one big league game. And they go back and look, and if you would go back and look prior to 1962, Red Blum was just pulling your leg. He didn't play in a big league game. The official box score left him out. Over the newspaper stories and some research done that the official records were lost for 44 years, but all 3 Boston papers at the time had Blum in the text, and he was in the account of the ball game, in their own little text account of the ball game. He was in there. Also, the New York Times carried game stories as well at that time, and also Blum appeared in the box score of that ball game from July 3rd, 1918. But the original box score, the Red Sox sent the league office, which is what went to record, the Hall of Fame, and to a baseball almanac, and all the historical numbers that were official numbers. The official box scores, what they went by, he wasn't there. But in 1962, the Sporting News writer Lee Allen had a Cooperstown Corner column he did, and his title was "Mystery Man Blum, Phantom of the 18th Hub-House," which was the title of the story. And he posed the question about Blum, and he actually wrote a poem about it. I'm not going to read you the poem, but the point being, he actually did some research and found out that for some reason, yes, Red Blum did play in one big league game. Yes, he did go 0 for 1. Unfortunately, the box score didn't have it in there. That box score was corrected in 1962, and there's your story, some Wednesday's wisdom, that yes, the box scores were even incorrect back in 1918. It's a little Wednesday's Wisdom Nugget, a page from baseball's past here on the Steakhouse for Wednesday. All right, questions, comments. It's your time now, folks, to ask away. And you see Red's picture there on the screen. That's the best I could. He was so obscure. That's about as good as I could find of Red Blum there on Wednesday's Wisdom here as we round third, head for home on the show. I mentioned hot stove updates. Not really anything to hot stove update, but I did want to tell you, if you do want to catch some really good stuff, Joshua Schaub, the president of the league, American Association, did appear on Brad and Denning's show on the Cleburne Railroaders Rail Talk Live last night. It's on their Facebook page, so go to Cleburne Railroaders Facebook page. You can catch that, and it's good stuff. It's the very first part of the show, first 10 or 12 minutes. It's a very good insight as well. I did get a chance to talk to them about this, but some topics they talked about. He talked about 2020 and beyond, maybe perhaps a Texas division for the American Association to help kind of tie the league together with some more teams down south, and very good stuff as well about broadcast and media. And he talked about some of the exciting things the league has in store when we do get back to baseball. So I encourage you guys to check that out as well. Also, TikTok Tuesday yesterday. Morgan's TikTok was great. Check it out. It's also on Facebook and on the T-Bones Facebook, also on our TikTok page as well. So please check that out. I'll give you guys a couple moments here for questions and comments. It is your show, a chance to, to kind of check in how you're doing. How are you guys doing? What's going on? How's everybody holding up? I mean, it's a strange time, and I hope you're doing well. So if you have any questions for me, please fire them away. This show will air again in an archive version on my YouTube page. I'll have some details on that in a moment. Also, I encourage you guys to be following me on Twitter and on Facebook as well, but we'll talk about that in a moment. But again, a hot stove update there. Anybody else with questions and comments, I'll give them to you just for a moment, or give me just a moment here to get them away. Is again, great show. It's 2 weeks in a row, though. I've had frustrating issues in the beginning. I swear I'm going to get better at this. It's driving me crazy. I did this whole. Should I even play what I was going to do for you? I had this whole thing planned out. It was great. I mean, it was. Oh yes, I got one more thing here. I'm sorry about that. I did play this for Brad and Denning. I got two things to get to as well. First off, the season last year. And I meant to ask them about this, but we're running a little long. The season last year hinged on this one night. This is the night it all changed for Kansas City. Give you a little bit of taste of that for the August 4th in Cleburne.
Diaz couldn't hold the handle there, flying out of his hands and into the on-deck circle. At first, 5-2 Kansas City, ninth inning. Diaz deals the pitch coming home. Bouncer towards short. Could be 2. 6-4 on the first, and got him. Turn him, burn him, double play. The game is over. And you can watch this one. It's a Good News Wednesday on a turn him, burn him, double play. And hurry it. They got him, though. 6-4-3, and Kansas City has evened the series and ended that 4-game losing streak. And the T-Bones get a save for Diaz, a win for Perrin, and a hole for Calvado. And the T-Bones get the win. A final score here, Kansas City 5 and Cleburne 2.
That was August 4th last year. That's where it all began. And from that point on, the T-Bones didn't lose for 2 weeks. One of that 14-game ride, and the rest is history. Won the division, and that all happened right there in Cleburne last year, a place the T-Bones had really had some trouble with the night before, but it did not work out that way as KC really took that one game, just changed everything. That double play that changed the season, and that double turn. And looking at that game too, Cleburne was making a bit of a run, and the T-Bones got the double turn, and Diaz got a save, and Kansas City got the W and would go on to make up plenty of ground there in the division. So we'll have that little note, and I meant to get that to you guys earlier before. Actually, going to be before Brad Denning came on, but kind of working the show in reverse. Also, here in the Steakhouse, it's that time as well to check out This Week in the KBO. Let's do that. Oops, sorry about that. This Week in the KBO, if I can find it for you. There we go. This Week in the KBO. There we go. Good week so far. It still looks like at least they'll pull the banner down real quickly here. But if you're the SK Warrens, you're 2-11, scuffling as they did get off the schneid, but they have had a tough time at home. 1-5. Samsung and Hanwha both scuffling. Hanwha was the team most thought were going to be in the cellar, but they have found their way out of the cellar and right there, kind of nipping at the heels of KT. Kia at 7-7. Lotte lost 3 in a row this week. They had a bit of a tough week. They just, for whatever reason, I haven't seen the box score from yesterday, but Lotte scuffling big time this week with 3 losses in a row. And then the Dinos lead the league. NC Dinos is they lead the league 11-2. They've just dropped 1. They just dropped their second ball game of the season last night, or would have been Tuesday night. They're 4-1 at home, 7-1 on the road, and the Doosan right there at 8-5, along with LG, both 8-5. But for as far as weeks are concerned, it was a great week for KT. They pulled themselves from the cellar to that 7th position, and then it was also a pretty decent week for the Dinos. Of course, when you're 11-2 and you only lose once every 10 days, I would say things are going well for you. There's your KBO update, though, as we play in the Korean Baseball League. The only the CPBL is going as well, but that league only has 4 teams, although it's a good baseball. It's really good baseball there in Taiwan, but the Korean League, a much a deeper league and really more, I think, a really fun follow as well. They're the Korean Baseball League. So, all right. I believe that we're about touching home plate here. We've had a good show, a great show. And again, we'll do this next Wednesday. Reminder as well for you guys that, be following our social channels. And I'd love have you guys follow me as well. And follow me on my channels. There you go. Dan Vaughn Jr. on Twitter. My YouTube page has been updated. It will have this show up when I'm done. I'll download it, have this show up for you as well, so you can find, you can find this show on YouTube, and also Instagram is a great place to follow me as well. I'd love to have you guys join me on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Do the Twitter. I'm definitely in not opening day form, that's for sure. But I hope you guys will join me there on my channels. I'd love to have y'all as we follow the T-Bones. I've also got on the YouTube, I'll have for you guys as well. I'll have my cooking videos will be up into the day and other items as well. The Steakhouse show. And if you are missing the happy hour shows I do every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, those are also on that YouTube page as well. So please subscribe. It's nothing earth-shattering. You're not going to learn how to speak a new language or how to fix your TV or the new fashion tips of the world, but you're going to at least have something different to watch. And we all need new streaming ideas. Maybe that's something you can stream as my YouTube page. So again, big thanks to Brad and Denning. They were just, again, I just can't tell you enough how much I appreciate their time today. The Cleburne Railroaders, you can check their website, Cleburne Railroaders as well, and their Facebook page. And their show is on Tuesdays. Their Facebook Live shows on Tuesday. I encourage you guys check out their Tuesday show. They also do a Friday night show as well. So I encourage you guys to check out their fine work on Facebook as well. So, it pretty much means it's time to put the open sign away and put the close sign up, which also means it's time to play a little close. We have a close for you. Yes, I have a broadcast close, a closing video. We have not only an open, we got a closing video. So let's let that roll right now, and we will close things out until next week. Have a great rest of your week. Please stay safe. Hug somebody you love dearly. And as we always say, go T-Bones.